Cindy from Studio Lou, and I am back today with another journal flip through book. This is another giant tome book. It's another fiber and textile arts themed book, so I will do my best to get everything on camera as best I can. This book is so huge that it sort of just fits, so it might be a little bit difficult from the angle I'm shooting at to show you everything, but I will do my best. So anyhow, I hope you're having a good day. It's Sunday today as I'm shooting this, and it's actually the first beautiful, brilliant spring day we've had. And yeah, so I will get started. So this journal is made inside of a vintage crafting encyclopedia. I loved the back cover of the book with this image, so I actually repurposed two of them because I have a whole collection of them. So both sides have this beautiful image, and on the front I have this amazing crocheted starched snowflake that's been glued on so it can't come off. The spine of this book, I will just kind of go up and down so you can see the whole thing. It's got a pamphlet stitch that's visible. There are 5 signatures in this book, and I have beaded shashi mirrors and handmade fiber. These are yarn, hand spun wire core yarn beads, and put a little bow on top. And then the closure of the book is with one of these little Timothy Holtz knobs, and this is a big book. This is a giant journal, and it has an elastic closure, and on the back there's this lovely little doily and a vintage button that help to keep the closure intact. So let me get started. There is I have tied things to the signatures. All of the signatures have these the floss that basically ties the book together. So I've tied crystals, vintage buttons, bobbins. Up here are the rest of them, pom-poms and fabric, and just all kinds of relative things. So okay, let me get situated and make sure that I'm fully in frame. I will open the book now and just make sure that everything is relatively in frame. Let's see. There we go. Okay. So the front of this book has a large fabric pocket, and I'll take everything out. So this is a beautiful vintage linen tea towel that I got a couple of these, and so I've been using them in these fiber arts journals because I really love the motif. So inside this fabric pocket is some vintage ephemera. This is from Lily Mills Company, and it was a yarn sample card. So you could journal on that and just have it as a piece of nice vintage ephemera. And then there is this journal card that I made. I collaged. And another one sort of in the same theme. They're just bright and happy. And then the note from me, which is the note from the bookmaker, which tells you a little bit about my book. And the first page is a heavy-duty watercolor sheet of paper, and it has this little tuck here with this vintage girl on it, and inside is another one of those collaged journaling cards. And a little bit of watercolor painting and another tuck. And this is a pattern paper, and this is a journal card, and another journal card with some vintage women in these amazing skirts and some of my hand spun yarn sewn at the bottom, and then just another piece of vintage ephemera, inkle loom weaving for beginners and experts. So just something kind of cool to look through if you're into weaving or interested in weaving. And then we have this beautiful paper this is the same paper that I used on the spine. It's actually handmade paper from Koreatown in Toronto. And on this page we have a crochet motif and a pocket and just a bit of a collage here. And inside the pocket are a couple of really nice journaling tags for you to write on. I have no idea how long this video is going to be. I'm trying to go quickly through it. And then I made a tuck out of this vintage yarn sample. I got a bunch of these from a weaving estate that I inherited. And this is a large collage journal card and just this cool piece of paper that's textile themed that you could write on. Those are both tucked in there. And some gridded coffee dyed paper that I made. And over here we have a fabric pocket, and there's some fabric here. There's a lot of small details in this book. I really took a lot of time to make these signatures. And inside is a large heavy-duty journaling card. This is Easter egg dyed paper. This is a really cool paper that my friend gave to me. She basically supersized an encyclopedia, like a black and white illustrated encyclopedia, because she was studying, I think, like boats and boat knots and other things at the time. And so she gave me all of this large format paper. So I coffee dyed it, and there's a nice sticker here to just kind of give it a nice, more textile sort of feel. And that's the back, and just another motif there. This is some children's writing paper. And over here we have a large journaling card that it flips over so you can write on the back. And this is a felt bead on a clip. Hopefully that's visible there. So that's a bead that I felted myself on a paper clip, and that just keeps it clipped on. Some stamping and some coffee dyed floral paper. This is graph paper and an embroidery hoop motif, and just some more fiber art related motifs and sewing pattern. And this is a crochet doily. You can write right on top of this. It's a file folder. A little bit of lace detail here. And then this is a large pocket with nice textile images on a piece of avocado dyed paper. And this is a large Art Nouveau kind of themed journal card. And it tucks right in here. And then some more stamping and some more sewing pattern. And just some floral. And just a nice collage sort of pasted together section of different papers with some fiber art floral. And that's the back with all of the pattern paper, and I've sewn some nice cotton here. And this is a pocket with a cool journaling card inside. It's got some lace ribbon on the front and brown paper on the back. And this is the center of the first signature. And another fabric pocket with this fun journal card. And this is a little flip that has another journal card inside. And graph paper with some textile graphics. And sort of a how to knit graphic over here, or crochet rather. And coffee dyed paper. And on the back there's this little piece of vintage ephemera from the Village Weaver. It's another yarn sample. These are from the 70s. I don't believe this business exists anymore. And there's a journal card just tucked inside there, or a tag rather. And this is a large pocket that has the pattern for a teddy bear on it. And inside I've just tucked a vintage, I believe it's a price list from the Village Weaver. So that's just a nice crinkly yellow piece of paper that you can write on. And that is tucked right inside there. I think that's all that I shoved in there in case you wanted to shove your own things inside there. And over here we have a little pocket with this little journal card. It has a vintage button. And just some knitting motif on children's writing paper. And this is coffee dyed paper that's been embellished with this, this is crocheted lace, or sorry, not lace, I guess. It's almost like a snowflake. It is lace, but it's been disconnected from its overall large piece. And that's more of that knot paper. And this is a pocket with a journal tag inside. And these are little Velcro textured circles that are glued down. And this is just a really cool piece of paper that's been created with a decoupaged napkin. And this whole book is just, it's fun to touch. It's like a really nice sort of textures book. And then this is another long journal card with a beaded felt bead on top. And it flips onto both sides. And this is some vintage embroidery. And this page has a linear sort of pattern for knitting motif for crochet, actually for crocheting a button cover. The images from these vintage fiber and textile encyclopedias are amazing. They're really beautiful. That's what inspired the whole series for me. And then this is a pocket that has buttons on it, on a button advertisement with a large journal tag inside that is illustrated with sort of a sewing theme, hand sewing. And that just tucks right in there. Just some textile paper. And then this is some certificate paper with a large card again, that's more yarn sample, and inside is a collaged and a postcard, vintage postcard themed journaling cards for writing on, and they tuck in there. And then just some knitting schematic. And now we're at the end of the first signature, and there you can see the rose fabric from the binding. And this is a little booklet. I try to stick something in between almost all of the signatures in a book if I can, if they'll fit. So this is just a little writing booklet that I made. You could pop it into a handbag or just keep it as a little notebook if you were working on a pattern and you wanted to write down where you were or something like that. Just an extra journal. And this is a map magazine page with some vintage buttons. And this is excuse me, fabric paper. So this is a process that I do where you essentially immerse fabric entirely in a matte glue, and you attach it to paper, and it makes a really nice writing surface. It basically transforms fabric into paper. And then there's just this nice, I don't know what this is called. I think this might be called crewel design. I can't remember, but it's almost like rug hooking. I guess I should look this up because I'm always using these pages. I should find out what I'm talking about. I do lots of fiber arts, but not that particular one. So this is a beautiful lace pattern, two-sided for cross stitching, a giant rug. And this is some painted surface with different embroidery techniques on it. And pattern paper with some hand spun yarn. And this page has been stitched and dyed with Easter egg dye. And this is a large pocket with some of my hand spun yarn down the side, and I've put some goodies inside here. So there's this large folded journal tag for writing. These are all for writing on, obviously. And then a couple more journal tags. And then just a little motif. And this is another one of those coffee dyed large format printed paper with the side of a boat. I thought this was, or the inside of a boat. I just thought this was very sort of textile feeling. It just has a very textile feel to me. Maybe because it's a pointillist image. And then there's just some slight drawings of boat plans on the back. And this is a large belly band. You could actually fit more stuff in here, but I just put a couple of journal cards in there to get you started. And this is just an inked page with some knitting schematic on it. And then these, is this the center? No, this is not the center, but we're almost to the center of the second signature. So this is a booklet that I made that is a trifold. So it's lots of lined paper for writing space with some sewing related ephemera. And just a nice file folder that's been covered in an interesting paper. And then just some paper just to write on. Nothing too fancy on that side. I like to leave a few pages just for writing. And then this is a fold out. It looks like a pocket, but inside is some marble dyed paper that I made. So it folds all the way down right off camera. Actually, it's a very long piece, and then has these two buttons. And then this is a paper pocket that I made on a triangle, and it's got some lace and fabric and this little journal tag, and then you can write on this graph paper. And this is just a bookmarker. So this is just a separate piece of this coiled fabric with these. This is actually from Peru. I have a bunch of lengths of this Peruvian sort of pom-pom fabric that my friend sent to me from Peru. And then on this side, we have a couple things going on. So this is the center of the signature. So on this side, we have sort of a multi-functional pocket booklet. So on the front is this pocket with a tag inside. And this is all sewing paper, so you could actually write here. And then you flip it open this way, and there's this large double fold of coffee dyed paper that I dyed. And then you can actually fold it over and you have the same thing in reverse. So lots of writing space. And then the theme of this fabric from this free motion quilt that I made with this beautiful embroidery, this is from an Indian sari, is a large pocket. And behind it, you can see a bit of the same paper motif, but there's a large journal card with some really nice soft sheep's locks inside, or attached. And the pages have fabric sewn here. This is fabric. And then this is a large journal card. Inside this fabric sewn pocket, and it's followed over by this little theme here with some lace. So this is a large journaling card with some lace on top and brown paper on the back. It's a heavyweight tag like a cardstock. And this is a file folder that has a triple pocket. So there's some just nice motifs here that are sort of sewing and crochet related. And then each one of these is a pocket with some little goodies inside. So that's what the trifold pocket looks like. This is a little journal card, some yarn on it. This is a journal card with an apple. It's for doing a color work crochet, and that tucks in the front. And then a couple more little collaged, stamped, and fabric embellished journal cards. And those pop right in the middle. And just some nice gold paper. Excuse me. And then this is an inked page with some related sewing ephemera. And a stamped page. Coffee dyed papers. And this is a flip up with butterflies. And then underneath, I'll just flip it up. There's some blue paint with sewing paper on the back of that can be written on. And then there's this nice piece of ephemera paper. Another stitched page. I should have brought water. I'm losing my voice. This is a big book to talk about. So this is another flip of vintage yarn samples. I really love these. They're great for journals. And then underneath is this large journal tag that is made from, this on the back is lined paper that I have marble dyed and stitched around the whole tag. And this is from a vintage magazine. And it's coffee dyed paper on the back. And again, some of that amazing rug pattern. And over here is some avocado dyed paper and some themes from cross stitching. This is actually the pattern, the rug from the pattern. And then this is just a little piece of sort of textile paper with some knitting instructions on the back for doing cabling. And this is more fabric paper on the back of magazine paper with some nice, excuse me, ruffles. And now we're at the second signatures end, and there's another little booklet that I've made up that's just full of dyed lined paper. And this is a dress or a tunic pattern, and some vintage pattern paper with hand spun yarn down the side, paper dolls, handmade paper. This is another booklet that I made, so it's been stenciled, and it's a trifold as well, so it creates a lot of journaling space. And then this is just a journal card that is clipped on. There's a glass bead on here, and it's on top of more of that boat knot paper, and it's a double flip, so it goes over the 2 pages. And coffee dyed paper, and then graph paper with 2 pockets that have some journal tags inside. So this one, they have vintage buttons on them, and it just tucks inside there. And there's 2 in here. Oops, sorry, it's a little tricky to do this when you're holding the book away from yourself. And then another one of those the Village Weaver yarn samples, and that's used as a belly band to hold on to this nice thick journal card. And this is a fabric flip with some really cool fabric, and underneath it's just journaling space. It's avocado dyed paper, so it's like a pinkish tone. And over here is just 3 shades of pink paper with some vintage embroidery. And then just some illustrations from a vintage magazine about sewing. More of that over here. And then a cool like illustration of different articles of clothing that you could sew from a French sewing magazine. Easter egg dyed paper. This is the center of the signature, Easter egg dyed paper. In the back of the file folder. So this is all French abbreviations for different words in the French patterns. Pink and avocado dyed paper. Graph paper with just a little bit of a motif there. And then this is a little bottom sort of flip that you can tuck a card into. So this is a large journal card that's been woven from mainly from coffee dyed paper and French textile paper, a textile book paper, and then on the back it's lined. So the whole thing has been sewn around. Coffee dyed paper. Knot paper. And then this is a large pocket. Inside of it, there are a couple things. So a vintage bingo card you can write on the back, and another piece of a vintage price sheet from Crow Brothers Specialties from 1971. So it's a really nice piece of old paper that you can write on the back and just keep as a piece of vintage ephemera. And the next page is this little envelope that has a journal card inside of it. So that just tucks in there. And this is more sewing pattern, vintage sewing pattern paper instructions. And we're at the middle of the book now. And this is a booklet that I made from a beautiful piece of handmade vintage cross-stitch embroidery on Aida cloth. It was probably like a hanky or a napkin, or probably a napkin was its intention because it's too thick to be a hanky. But inside is just some coffee dyed and vintage textile book paper. So it's just like a little extra journal that you can take along with you, and it's just loosely tied with red yarn. And I love this scrapbook paper. It's some old measuring tapes and some more shipped knot paper and some pink paper that's been sewn around, and graph paper, and a doily. And some sewing schematics. More vintage sewing schematics. And then inside the middle of this signature, I've just stuck in a newsletter from the Ontario Handweavers and Spinners Guild from September 1981. If you've been looking at this series of books, you'll see that I've been including these in one way or another in the whole series because I inherited a whole stack of them from a guild member who is a very cool lady who passed away unfortunately a few years ago. So I inherited her looms and her collection of weaving books and ephemera. So I've tried to share those. They're really fun to read. It's a really nice way to look back at what was going on at that time. I mean, whether you're into these kinds of things or not, if you're a knitter, any of it, you might just really find these kind of cool. Like they have some little instructional things in them or patterns. And then the thing I love the most is every one had some kind of a sample. Like this one has a really cool weaving sample and a yarn sample as well. So they're really fun to read. Avocado paper, Easter egg sewn paper. And on the back of this one is a free motion quilt that I made, just a little pocket with a journal tag inside, or a journal card rather. Center of this signature. And this is a triple pocket, and it's just stuffed with goodies. So I'll pull them out so you can get a look at the pocket itself. So I shove as much as I can in there without making the book too bulky. So there is some sewing and crochet knitting related ephemera that's used to create these. And then inside the book, I just put all these little journal cards. So I just kind of stick them in to each of the pockets. There's 3 pockets to fill up here. And these are nice little writing cards. So just pop them back in here and just kind of show you as I stuff each one in what they look like. This one's cute. It has like one of those mushroom head people on it from some of my other journals. So yeah, they're a lot of fun. And then avocado and coffee dyed papers. A file folder with some nice roses on it. And then this is a nice belly band, sort of, well, not a belly band, but it's a pocket that's been made with this nice sample of weaving. This is a piece of vintage weaving, actually. And then inside is a journal card, right in that little tuck. Silver doily and more graph paper. This page has been sewn around. And then this is the end of the signature, so it's got more of that nice measuring tape paper with some ribbon that connects it to this lace paper. And these are some Mary Engelbright paper dolls that I'm just including in there as a freebie. This is some Brazilian crochet blueprint. And a stamped page that's a pocket on the back with a large journal card in it that is it's demonstrating basically the darts of making a shirt, how to shape it around the bust. And then this is a nice piece of embroidered, what's the word, applique on a knicker pattern. And some painted surface to write on. More of those knots. And some daubed coffee paper. And this nice little measuring tape image. This is sewing paper, sewing pattern paper. And more of the Brazilian crochet blueprint. This is a really funny illustration that I came across from a vintage book. I mean, it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek. It's like this guy is measuring the bust of a woman for a pattern, and she's kind of giving him like the side eye, and he's sort of like making a comment about her bust. I just thought it was really tacky and funny. And I really love these linear images from these vintage books. They're really pretty. And this is avocado paper. Really pink, nice avocado paper. Some dye pots just really come out incredibly with avocado dyeing. And these are some washing instructions and some tracing paper. And this is another little booklet that I made. So it extends for extra journal space. So you just grab this little piece of crochet and you open it up. And there is a trifold, a little sheep there, and some other illustrations. And over here we have one of these cool multi-pockets. So again, I'll just pull everything out so you can get an idea of what the pocket looks like. So this is a special fold that I learned how to make out of book pages. I've put some scissors and a crochet flower there. And then in the back is this large journal tag with coffee dyed paper on the back. So that just, it just slips in the back of the pocket. And then this is a sewing illustration. That just goes in there too. These are all plain on the back to write on. So this is a piece of framed crochet. And this is a little skirt pattern. And that just goes in the last one. More crochet blueprint and more sewing pattern paper. It's all vintage. And then this is a sewing bust with like a tunic on it. More daubed paper and avocado dyed knot paper. And some rainbow paper. And on the back is a pocket with a nice journal card inside that has been sewn with fabric. And some painted paper and some other motifs. And another pocket with a large journal card that's been sewn around. More crochet blueprint. And this is the end of the book, so I've done an upside down kind of tuck pocket that has this really cool yarn sample again. And I made a journal tag out of this collage and another vintage bingo card. So those just tuck in the back there. And yeah, that's that humongous journal. So it's really it's a tome. It's a giant book, which is called a tome. And I think this would be a lot of fun for people who are interested in knitting, sewing, crochet, weaving, spinning, dyeing, whatever, or just fashion in general, or any kind of, you know, related crafty sort of theme. Like I think this book could be applicable to a lot of people, or even just to an inspired writer. So this will be going up in the shop this week, along with some other things, some hand spun yarns, some really nice dyed silk beaded yarns, and a few other things, little bits and bobs. So that is one of my projects this week, and I hope everybody is staying well. Thank you so much for watching this video. Goodness knows how long this video is going to be, but I hope you enjoyed looking through this book. Take care.